Hey, what's up? It's The Field with Preston Hiefield. Thank you all so much for listening, liking, and subscribing on YouTube, Substack, Apple, and Spotify. Really appreciate the support. Got a midweek pod, very short one here. Just want to hit on two topics, Brian Kelly and the Shohei Ohtani media coverage, and also the media coverage of the Brian Kelly firing, right? So let's get straight into that. I'm watching, you go on YouTube and you see the thumbnail of like show host here and Brian Kelly's disappointed face here and reaction to the Brian Kelly firing, right? So there's a couple of national guys that I consistently listen to, really like two national guys, and wanted to hear what they had to say. And, that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was like, do I want to do a quick Brian Kelly reaction pod? Because I could, but like, is it really that fun to tell you the stats? Like, I could go through and tell you 34-14 overall at LSU, 19-10 in SEC play, didn't make the college football playoff. I could go through and tell you, hired Blake Baker, didn't really work out. O-line was an issue. Defense without Whit Weeks was a massive issue, despite how improved it looked this season. Yada, yada, yada. Vandy's good. Vandy's better. The SEC's better. Like, I could give you all of this, like, football knowledge. I could give you the X's and O's about the defense and the O-line, but you probably want to hear that from Kirk Herbstreit when College Game Day will inevitably do a Brian Kelly postmortem this weekend. Hey, look at the defensive effort on this play. What happened to LSU in the second half of the A&M game, right? A&M runs it up. They win like 49-25. Marcel Reed vaults up the Heisman rankings. Tiger Stadium empties out. You've seen it all. You've heard it all. Like, you probably don't want to hear that, right? Like, I was listening to some national guys and I was like, dude, I don't want to hear any of this. And so, like, my reaction to the media's reaction of the Brian Kelly thing is what I really want to get after today. So there are two schools of thought that everyone seems to be giving with why Brian Kelly didn't work out at LSU. The first is like, I'm hearing these guys say like, dude, he wasn't Louisiana enough, man. Like, he wasn't Louisiana enough. He wasn't Cajun enough. He was the red ass coach of Notre Dame private school, ritzy private school. Like, that's kind of where he belongs. He's not really one of us, right? Like, that's what I'm hearing a lot of national guys say. He didn't embrace Louisiana enough the way that Coach O did. And my reaction to that would be like, okay, well, yes, Coach O was perfectly Cajun. Perfect Bayou Bengal. He is Baton Rouge, right? He's got keys to the city forever. The 19 team with Joe Burrow is the greatest offense in the history of the sport, statistically and by the eye test, in my opinion. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Joe Moore Award O-line, Thaddeus Moss, like Marshall. They had so many dudes. It was insane, right? That was, to me, that win at Alabama. I still remember where I was watching that game with Tua. That was the Tua team that had 4 NFL receivers on it for Bama. Like, that was maybe the best offensive game I've ever seen in college football history. Like, so yes, LSU fans, like, you're not going to recapture Coach O and that Joe Burrow team probably ever. But like, everyone nationally, all these national hosts that are like, well, yeah, again, he just wasn't Cajun enough like Edo. Okay, well, they were happy to move on with Edo shortly after that, less than 2 full seasons later. Les Miles, was he really like a big Louisiana guy? He was eating grass and being goofy, but LSU fans loved him because he had, most of the time, an insanely elite defense, and then every now and then an offense that was good enough to get them to national title games and even win one in the crazy 07 year when everyone had 2 losses. They won with 2 losses. Shout out to Matt Flynn. Shout out to 07 college football. Nick Saban. No, he was at Michigan State for a while. He was at Cleveland and the Browns, the NFL, for a while. He's from West Virginia. Like, he's not this guy that was just like embracing Louisiana, but he won them a national title, right? He left them for the Miami Dolphins of the NFL. He was like fully embracing being a lifetime Louisiana guy? Of course not. So, like, the notion of that, like, I just wasn't, like, Brian Kelly just wasn't Louisiana enough. I don't really buy that, okay? That's number one. The other media reaction to the Brian Kelly firing that I've heard is some of these national guys being like, yeah, dude, I texted someone and he just, like, he wasn't really that locked in with his staff. Like, he just wasn't that close with his staff. Like, I talked to someone in town. So, like, what'd you do? Like, text a bar back in town? Text a restaurant owner? Like, maybe a recruiting staffer on the team or something. Like, cool. You got a little insight from a recruiting staffer that he's not like super tight with his entire staff. And by the way, that video that came out of Brian Kelly yelling at Joe Sloan, the OC, being like, Joe, it's third down. You can't fucking pass the ball with no timeouts. What are you fucking doing? Can't pass the ball in bounds. Like, you know that Brian Kelly loved that video came out. Like, he knew the cameras were on him. He wanted to blame someone else, and mission accomplished. But LSU ultimately fires him, and so that's kind of what I want to focus on is the media reaction of it. And that second part of like, yeah, he just wasn't really like tight enough with his staff. Like, you know, everyone's trying to give a reason, right? Like, oh, it's the defense. Oh, didn't play in the playoff. Oh, it was toxic. Oh, he wasn't really tight with his staff. Oh, he's not very Louisiana enough. Like, I'm not really here to give you that reaction. And like I said, I could tell you about the X's and O's and the offensive line and the defense, but just go to Herb Street for that. You can find that anywhere else too. Like, to me, that is my reaction to the media's reaction is like, I don't think it's not that he was Louisiana enough. Nick Saban was not Louisiana enough. They would have kept him there forever. Les Miles won a natty there. He wasn't very Louisiana. It's not that he like didn't have great relationships with the staff, and that could be like, I could accept that as a possibility. But the reality is he just didn't win enough. Period. 34-14. 19-10 overall in SEC play, and you can tell me how other people let him down, his staffers let him down. Like, dude, ultimately he just didn't win enough. If he would have won a national title there, they would have been praising him, and they would have said, we don't care that you're Louisiana enough. And like, I get that everyone wants to make fun of him for that fake accent at the basketball game. That was hilarious, and he deserves to be made fun of for that because he was being disingenuous. He was faking it. He wasn't being himself. He put on the fake Southern accent, and it was hilarious. I don't know if he knew what he was doing or not, but he just kind of went with the fake Southern accent, and we were all like, wait, dude, you were just like a hard-ass Notre Dame coach for the last 10 years. How are you all of a sudden this like Southern Cajun guy? And so anyways, just being someone you're not in this world usually doesn't end up well, and probably didn't for him, although I don't think that he was totally faking it at the end. I think he was being his true kind of hard-ass self, but ultimately he just didn't win enough, and I'll read you, and I'm going to show you the Kirby Smart reaction in a second too. Here's the statement from the AD, Scott Woodward. By the way, Scott Woodward also gave the big $77 million buyout to Jimbo Fisher, and now he owes Brian Kelly $54 million as Kelly gets fired into the fourth year of his tenure out of a 10-year contract. I don't know how this guy, Woodward, keeps getting these jobs because he keeps firing dudes. And again, it's not really the AD's decision. I've said this a lot. It's the absolute truth. The ADs don't call any shots in college football at all. This is just your booster saying, I've had enough of Brian Kelly, fire him, or I'm withholding my NIL funds and donor funds. So the ADs are just the puppets, man. They don't actually make the decisions. But okay, here's the quote from Scott Woodward. When Coach Kelly arrived at LSU 4 years ago, we had high hopes that he would lead us to multiple SEC and national championships during his time in Baton Rouge. Ultimately, the success at the level that LSU demands simply did not materialize, and I made the decision to make a change after last night's game. We wish Coach Kelly and his family the very best in their future endeavors. We will continue to negotiate a separation, and we'll work toward a path that is better for both parties. So the key phrase in there would lead us to multiple SEC and national championships during his time in Baton Rouge. So ultimately, when you're in charge at LSU as the head coach, they expect you to win national championships. It's been regurgitated 9 million times that Edo won one, that Les won one, and that obviously Nick won one. Okay, so yeah, ultimately they weren't on the path towards winning a national championship, and they ultimately, for that reason, decided to can Brian Kelly. But again, it's not because he wasn't Cajun enough. It's not because he was like, relationships weren't great with his staff. Like all these insiders or national hosts are like giving these reasons. Like, no, I texted someone in town, and I'm like, dude, you texted a restaurant owner or like a recruiting staffer who told you that? Like, come on, what are we doing? I'm not buying that either. It's simply that he didn't win enough. And that leads me to the Kirby Smart reaction to all this, which is what we want to get to. Here is Kirby on the Brian Kelly firing.
Coach, another 10,000-foot question with Brian Kelly being fired. The guy won more than 70% of his games. It seems like the expectations in the new college landscape has led to more midseason firings. What do you make of the state of the game, and is there any sort of danger here?
I don't know. I mean, it's the world we live in. Everybody's got a voice. Everybody listens to somebody. A lot of I don't know enough about that situation, to be honest with you. That specific situation. I think you're asking a general view, but I don't know enough about what's going on over there. Got enough things to worry about in our own house, and that's what I focus on. It's obviously a tough situation on everybody. I mean, let's be honest. It's the players dealing with it, fans dealing with it, coaches dealing with it at this time in the middle of a season. I think there's so much built around the playoffs, and it's like everything's boom or bust, and you can't have a normal season. People got to make decisions earlier based on how somebody does, and I don't know enough about it. I know it's high expectations. I coached at LSU, and a guy once told me, he said, that office you're in, that's not your office. You're borrowing it. And I knew right then that if you didn't win, you wouldn't be there long.
That is truly an amazing quote at the end there. I coached at LSU, and a guy once told me, that office you're in, that's not your office. You are borrowing it. I knew right then if you didn't win, you wouldn't be there long enough. That's an amazing quote from Kirby Smart. Because it's just the truth. It's that high expectation. The AD said it, and again, it's not the AD making the decisions. By the way, Jimmy Sexton cut the freaking check to that Scott Woodward guy. Jimmy Sexton's the agent for all these college football guys who are getting these massive buyouts. He's just getting paid, 10% of $54 million, just a cool $5.4 million for Brian Kelly to not work. Jimbo Fisher, $77 million guaranteed even if he takes another job. So Jimmy just gets a cool $7.7 million or thereabouts for not working, for Jimbo not working. That's insane. Jimbo Fisher owes Scott Woodward, a boat or something. But yes, that Kirby Smart quote was just amazing, man. I mean, the expectations are different at LSU. The expectations are to win national championships. Otherwise, your boosters aren't going to be happy, and your fan base is not going to be happy. Is it still the best job? So there are 10 or 11 open jobs. There are officially 8 Power 4 jobs open right now. See, did I pull that article up? Power 4 jobs open. We had a ranking in college football's open Power 4 jobs from your man Adam Rittenberg, fantastic writer for ESPN. So the Power 4 jobs that are open are Stanford, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Penn State, Florida, and obviously LSU. I would, of course, still have LSU number one. That is a completely different level of greatness of a job. Wouldn't be surprised if Lane Kiffin leaves for that. I would still have Florida second there, Penn State third, and then Stanford, UCLA, Vatech, OK State, and Arkansas are all not super appealing. I would probably say Oklahoma State because your competition isn't much, and Virginia Tech because your competition isn't much. Like the ACC and the Big 12 are obviously not nearly as good as the Big 10 or SEC, so would probably put those there. Obviously, especially with Oklahoma State having some recent history, I'd probably put Oklahoma State right there. But I'm not going to do a big pod about rank the best open jobs. I just, I'm a big fan of giving reaction to the media's reaction. I thought you guys, maybe you find it insightful or at least entertaining to take that spin on it, hear from Kirby Smart, and then my thoughts as well. And again, like I said, the whole he's not Cajun enough or he doesn't have great relationships with his staffers, I'm just not buying it. The real reason they didn't make the college football playoff and they were 19-10 in the SEC. Okay, also a very quick word about the Shohei Ohtani glazing that's going on in sports media right now. Again, you guys know that part of the thing I like to do on podcasts is actually react to the media's reaction and kind of hold the media accountable for all of their reactions. There was a question last night, and shout out to my buddy Pierce Fettig who sent me this after the World Series game. And Ohtani was insanely good, right? 4 for 4 with 2 bombs. Watched much of it. Obviously, I watched that first bomb he hit, yanked it. That was awesome. Like he's great. He's a great talent. He's a transcendent talent. Totally get it. He hits and he pitches. But the glazing from the media, when they also don't really point out like the downside or how poorly he's played at times, is just insane. So I'll get to the quote in a second. It's actually a soundbite from the locker room. It's a reporter asking Mookie Betts a truly absurd question, and Mookie actually calls him out on it without like fully calling him out, which is really funny. Shout out to Mookie. I was looking because like the Dodgers were 8-1 through Game 3 of the Milwaukee series this postseason. You want to guess what Shohei was batting? 140, 6 of 38 at the plate. Shohei Ohtani, Mr. like GOAT already, was 6 of 38 at the plate. Obviously, last year he was truly terrible in the postseason for the Dodgers again, and they still won the World Series. And listen, I like the Dodgers a lot. Got fond memories of going to a Dodgers game with my dad. It's so unfair. Shohei's been so awful, and they will still easily win this World Series again 2 years in a row. Okay, so through game, let me get to the funny part. Through 9 games in the postseason, he was 6 of 38 at the plate. You want to guess what the Dodgers' record was when he was hitting 140? It was 8-1 when he was basically like a minor league player out there. Okay, and then since that moment, he's obviously gotten hot. Let's see, 8 for 15. Much better, 8 for 15 in his last 4 games. He's finally playing well. It's the first time I've seen him play well in the postseason. Okay, the point is like, it's twofold. First of all, I like to celebrate the sport. It's what I do with my college football pod. I try to take a really positive spin, positive tone, open conversation about it. Like, I'm not a big fan of some of the national guys who get up and they're like, this is my pedestal, everyone listen to me, this is why I'm right. And I appreciate the feedback. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that, on being kind of a lot more conversational with my tone, and that's a concerted effort that I've certainly made. The Aaron Judge stuff versus Shohei Ohtani, like, it's so laughably not even close. Judge in the postseason, by the way, 13 of 26. He was unbelievable this postseason. Hit 500, and the Yankees around him weren't good enough. Judge this regular season, I mean, these numbers legitimately look fake. He played in 152 games. He had 541 at-bats this season. He hit 331. That is insanity for a power hitter. Okay, last year, 559 plate appearances in 158 games. He hit 322. I mean, that is truly insane. If you do the side-by-side numbers for the last 5-6 seasons, however long Shohei's been consistently playing for the Dodgers, it is like laughably far that Aaron Judge is so much better than Shohei at the plate. That's point number one. I don't think anyone who watches the games, everyone who watches the games is like, nice, good point, because it's so wildly obvious. The other point, let me get to the Shohei point. The media's glazing of Shohei, I'm like, and I get it. Like, Jeff Passan, he's employed by ESPN, but he's really employed by the MLB, right? He wants to be nice to all these guys. I get, and like, I love Jeff Passan, by the way. I think he's great. I think he's self-deprecating sometimes. He's a really intelligent guy. He's an amazing reporter. I really love Jeff Passan, but he'll send out these just glazed tweets with Ohtani, right? And Joe Davis, he gets called jokingly Joe Ohtani Glazer Davis. He's the voice of the Dodgers on TV. The Ohtani glazing is a lot. Okay, but here's a reporter doing some serious glazing. Shout out to my buddy Pierce for finding this. He's talking to Mookie Betts in the post-game locker room after last night's win in the 18th.
When you put your head on the pillow tonight, what will you think about? When you go to bed tonight, put your head on the pillow tonight, what will you think about Shohei? Will you think about Freddie? What jumps out at you?
I'm probably not going to think about another man while I'm in bed.
Fair enough.
Dude, shout out to Mookie, man. If you didn't hear it perfectly, I'm probably not going to think about another man while I'm in bed, because the reporter's like, when you put your head on that pillow tonight, are you going to think about Shohei? Like, dude, this glazing for Shohei, man. And I'm all about it when he plays well. Obviously, last night was the best game he's ever played, considering the circumstances. But, dude, when you just, like, when he was so atrocious for the vast majority of this postseason and no one said a word. And then, like, he'll have a great game and everyone freaks out and says you can think about him when you're going to bed. You can think about him. it's a lot, man. And I'm glad that people are starting to catch on that the Ohtani glazing is just is way too much. And he's a fun guy to watch, by the way. Like, for the record, I like watching him. He absolutely gets me to a TV set more than just about anyone. I don't watch a ton of baseball at all, especially during football season. That's a whole different conversation of why baseball should probably push their World Series back and shorten the season, or at least start the season earlier so that they finish in late August or early September. I think a lot of people would be in favor of that. Maybe before the NFL starts, like have your final week September, the second week of September, first week of September. That's a whole different can of worms. But anyways, I do really, really, really love watching Shohei. He's great. Understanding he's a transcendent talent. He obviously pitches, hasn't pitched much, but he does pitch, is capable of pitching. And I'm with it. I'm with it, and I like Shohei. But the glazing from the media is just absurd. Like, this is probably what it was like watching Jordan get coverage back in the day. Like, Jordan could have murdered someone, and the media would have been like, dude, hell yeah, dude, that guy deserved it. He had it coming. Like, the ref, the ref, like, oh, I love you, Mike. No, I hear you, Mike. I hear you, Mike. I love you, Mike. I got you. I'll take a listen. The media coverage is insane. By the way, the whole FBI NBA stuff, I looked into the MJ, like how MJ's dad died. Pretty sure everyone thinks he died at the hands of the mob because he was shot on the side of the road on like a random interstate road. People think that MJ didn't pay back his gambling debts, and the mob shot his dad as a result. That's crazy. It would make sense because David Stern apparently told MJ to take a hike for a couple seasons to let the whole thing cool off. And what did he do in his absolute prime, fresh off 3 titles, quits the sport to play baseball and was not a good baseball player? Like, what is going on? That would add up a lot more than MJ just being like, nah, I just wanted to try baseball. Like, I know I'm in my absolute prime, but I want to try baseball for a couple of years. Summer of 93, man. Crazy times. Summer of 93. All right, hey, appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.